Mayor of Dolton, Tiffany Henyard, lashed out at her board of trustees during another tense meeting.
She vetoed the board's decision to require the village to open its financial books, as well as the board's call for a federal investigation.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment. Why is
Are you in charge? Who's in charge?
And a power struggle is also playing out.
It's a police standoff, but it's unlike any you've seen. It's unclear exactly who is running the police department and the rest of the village as Mayor Tiffany Henyard struggles to show that she's still in.
But at some point, there would be 2 officers or 3 officers. And depending on if there was some type of event, it would be more officers.
There's a foundation that's not registered, but it has nothing to do with you.
correct? That's true.
Okay.
That's
So you're
true.
not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised, anything along those lines.
Correct.
As allegations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and hidden agendas continue to unravel, Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard's carefully crafted image is starting to crumble. This isn't just a political problem anymore. It's about betraying the trust of an entire community. While she's reportedly trying to use the race card to avoid accountability, this move may actually be causing a deeper divide between her and the very people she claims to represent. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Picture this, a video Tiffany Henyard is desperate to keep from the Black community. Today, we're uncovering it all. Why are Dolton's Black residents and the wider community turning on her? What's the truth behind the charity scam that has everyone talking? And why are federal agents circling her like vultures? Stick with us, because this rabbit hole goes way deeper than you think. But before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell for more updates and videos like Thigh.
Help each other, not hurt each other. And it's a shame that us, I'm talking to my Black and brown communities, will sit here and fight.
And that's
But now Keith Freeman is cooperating, doing what he should have been done in the first place.
Cooperating with trustees.
With the trustees, absolutely, doing his job.
That leads us back
Related
here.
to the secret squirrel means, yes, that the Board of Trustees have
During an
creating
emergency,
chaos in your village.
the board vowed to override her veto and say they have the votes to do it.
The mayor can blame everybody for what's going on.
Charity work is supposed to be about giving back and helping those in need, but in Tiffany Henyard's world, it's just another tool for exploitation. Take her so-called cancer charity, for example. This charity somehow forgot to file its financial records. How does something that crucial just slip through the cracks?
hey, that amount of money under no circumstance.
But Tiffany Henyard then rehired him and put him in a new position as the actual police chief, which you have to be sworn into that position. But
The Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation, established in the fall of 2002, has quickly become tangled in controversy over its financial transparency and legitimacy. Originally set up to support cancer patients, the foundation is now facing accusations of being a scam, with many questioning its true impact and how its funds are actually being used. Despite being heavily promoted by Henyard, who also serves as township supervisor, the foundation received $110,000 and from the township board almost immediately after its inception, raising red flags. What's even more concerning is that in its first few months, the foundation reportedly raised just $33,000 and from other sources. This stark contrast between the hefty initial funding from the township and the lackluster subsequent fundraising has raised serious concerns about the foundation's operations.
On this national platform, and you said you didn't know anything about a foundation. But you forget that I was in certain rooms when certain things happened. And the reason I don't support you is because you were not honest about that foundation. I was in the room when it started.
During a recent special meeting, Trustee Carla directly confronted Henyard about the foundation, pointing out the glaring lack of transparency and accountability in its finances. Along with other trustees, Carla has raised alarms about the approval process for payments and the urgent need for better documentation and communication regarding financial decisions. These concerns have only been amplified by the Illinois Attorney General's order for the foundation to stop soliciting funds due to its failure to submit required tax filings, which are meant to show how the money is being used. A major criticism of Henyard is her defensive attitude during these meetings. When questioned about the foundation's financial management, she often deflects responsibility, claiming that the township's procedures are being properly followed. However, this response has done little to quell the growing suspicions among trustees and the public, who are increasingly questioning the foundation's legitimacy.
Henyard Cares Foundation, a non-for-profit organization whose mission is to find meaningful relief for people dealing with all types of cancer.
People are outraged over the misuse of public resources and employees for the foundation's operations. What makes this even more troubling is that the foundation received a significant amount of money from the township funded by taxpayers without clear oversight. Many are concerned that Henyard may be using her power to funnel public funds into a private project that hasn't proven to be legitimate. Her responses to these accusations have only fueled the fire. She's been seen deflecting responsibility, claiming that she's simply the face of the foundation and that things are put in her name without her direct involvement. This lack of accountability has led many to believe the foundation might be nothing more than a scam. Additionally, Henyard's attempts to use the charity to enhance her public image have backfired. For example, when she testified before a committee about the foundation's mission to help cancer patients, her statements were vague and poorly delivered, which only damaged her credibility further. She also tried to rebrand her existing business's social media accounts to promote the charity, but many saw this as a deceptive way to gain attention and legitimacy for her foundation. Now here comes the juicy part, the federal investigation. That's right, the feds are looking into Tiffany Henyard's actions, and things aren't looking good for her. Earlier this year, federal agents launched a criminal investigation into the embattled mayor of a Chicago suburb. Just last week, they issued subpoenas for a mountain of business records and financial reports. Henyard, who calls herself Super Mayor, is accused of using taxpayer money for personal expenses, including funding a police security detail and indulging in extravagant, unnecessary travel. She received 2 subpoenas, one focused on her personal business activities and another on the township. According to the local news station that obtained copies, the first subpoena asks for personnel files, wage and tax documents, time and attendance records, contracts and checks made out to cash from Henyard's various ventures, including a restaurant, a property management company, her political action committee, and a charity bearing her name. The second subpoena demands a stack of township financial documents, including budgets, payroll records, credit card usage policies, expense reports, reimbursements, security details, and vehicle usage records. This investigation is clearly centered on Henyard. Former FBI agent Ross Rice pointed out that the broad scope of these subpoenas indicates serious allegations of wrongdoing. Henyard has been accused of treating local police like her personal security detail at the taxpayer's expense, $1 million to be exact. Local officials have said that her demands have made it harder for them to do their jobs and keep the community safe. In response, the Dolton Village Board voted unanimously to launch an investigation into Henyard's alleged misuse of taxpayer funds, but she blocked it with a veto. In March, the board hired former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who used to be a federal prosecutor, to look into Henyard's spending and requested the FBI to initiate its own investigation. The results were eye-opening. They revealed a drastic decline in Dolton's finances since Henyard took office in 2021. The report showed that Dolton's general fund went from having $5.06 million in April 2022 to a staggering deficit of $3.65 million by May 2024, a nearly $9 million swing in just 2 years.
There's a foundation that's not registered, but it has nothing to do with you.
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
That's
So you're
true.
not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised, anything along those lines?
Correct.
Lightfoot's report didn't just highlight the overall financial decline. It also detailed specific instances of alleged misuse of taxpayer money. For example, village credit cards were used for extravagant purchases, including an eye-popping $33,500 and spent at Wayfair. These purchases, along with others, have raised major concerns about where taxpayer funds are being directed and how they're being spent. Village trustee Kiana Baller expressed the community's frustration and feelings of betrayal, calling the situation a slap in the face to the residents of Dolton. The report also revealed that over $6 million in checks had been approved but never sent to vendors, leaving Dolton's financial responsibilities in total disarray. Trustee Tammy Brown didn't mince words, saying that if the community doesn't see the corruption now, nothing will ever change. She called for a major shakeup in leadership by February 2025, pushing for significant changes to clean up the mess left behind. But the financial mismanagement goes even deeper. The report also exposed shocking payroll discrepancies within the Dolton Police Department. 2 officers were paid more in overtime than their entire annual salaries, with one officer earning nearly $115,000 and in overtime on top of their $87,200 in base salary. This excessive spending raises serious concerns about the village's financial oversight and accountability.
Money was spent. She found overtime, especially with 2 officers, kept jumping year after year. 2 officers racked up in overtime, nearly doubling their salaries. One officer made $108,000, then $114,000 in overtime alone.
Before these findings became public, sources had already warned that Dolton was facing severe financial trouble, with the village possibly unable to make payroll in the coming weeks. It's been nearly 3 years since Tiffany Henyard became Dolton's first female mayor, and her tenure has been rife with controversy. In addition to her role as mayor, she also serves as the Thornton Township supervisor, with her image proudly displayed outside Village Hall, an image now increasingly at odds with the mounting allegations against her. Henyard now finds herself at the center of corruption and political retaliation claims. Critics, including trustees, business owners, and even the Illinois Attorney General's office, accuse her of treating village funds as if they were her personal piggy bank, while Dolton's debts and unpaid bills continue to grow. Trustee Jason House has specifically called out her expensive trips with village staff, which have contributed to the multi-million-dollar deficit. Henyard's problems seem endless, and despite her attempts to deflect by playing the race card, the mounting evidence against her only continues to grow. This investigation is no minor issue. It could very well mark the end of Tiffany Henyard's political career. To make matters even worse, Louis Lacey, Dolton's chief of police and one of Henyard's closest allies, has been indicted on charges that could send him to prison for a long time. Lacey's involvement in a money scheme has rocked Dolton, but insiders suggest this is only the beginning. The indictment includes 9 counts, accusing Lacey of lying under oath to conceal assets and income from creditors, avoiding the payment of over $40,000, and in a lawsuit settlement. The charges against him include bankruptcy fraud, making false statements in a bankruptcy case, and perjury, each carrying a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. Lacey, who is 61 and resides in Madison, recently appeared in court wearing a blue suit. He briefly acknowledged the charges against him, and his attorney, Galitsky, entered a not guilty plea on his behalf, despite objections from the prosecution. U.S. Magistrate Judge Beth Jantz ordered Lacey to surrender his work firearm, along with 2 other guns he had at home, as well as his firearm owner's identification card. However, Judge Jantz stated that she might reconsider these restrictions if Lacey's attorney can show how they could impact his job with the Dolton Police Department. A status hearing is scheduled for October 1st before U.S. District Judge Thomas Durkin. Although the charges against Lacey are unrelated to his official duties in Dolton, his indictment adds another layer to the federal investigation into Mayor Henyard's alleged corruption. This new development is just the latest in a series of legal setbacks for Henyard, who has already faced multiple federal subpoenas this year. In response to the indictment, Lacey's attorney called the charges part of a larger witch hunt aimed at discrediting Mayor Henyard. Pitsky emphasized Lacey's lawn service to the Dolton community and his standing as a top-tier police officer, arguing, "This is a witch hunt. They are taking down Mr. Lacey to try to get to the mayor." The Village of Dolton trustees recently voted to place Lacey on indefinite administrative leave. However, Pitsky has challenged the legality of this move, claiming the trustees don't have the authority to place Lacey on leave and insisting his client should continue to receive his salary. "They're operating in a way that's, in my opinion, not legal," Pitsky remarked, noting that the mayor is the one who signs the checks. The indictment reveals a history of financial mismanagement dating back to the 1980s, including multiple personal bankruptcy filings in Chicago. Lacey's most recent petitions were filed in 2019 and 2020, allowing him to delay a 2017 settlement agreement with a plaintiff from a state court lawsuit. This lawsuit involved a woman whose husband was killed in Dolton in 2012. According to the suit, Lacey visited her multiple times, convincing her to hand over tens of thousands of dollars from her husband's life insurance payout. Although Lacey admitted in court papers that he visited her out of sympathy and concern for her safety, he denied taking any money. The lawsuit was settled for $55,000, and, with Lacey making an initial payment of $112,000 However, the fraud charges allege that Lacey filed for bankruptcy twice to avoid paying the remaining $43,000, and court documents reveal that Lacey underreported his monthly income and hid bank accounts he controlled, providing false statements under oath to the bankruptcy court. He also allegedly lied about being separated from his wife, claiming she didn't live with him or contribute to his income and mortgage payments, thus allowing him to dodge creditors. This indictment is not just a random event, it could be the first domino to topple the entire corrupt system that Henyard has built. To grasp the seriousness of this situation, we need to understand that Lacey isn't just any police chief. He has been one of Henyard's most loyal enforcers, reportedly doing her dirty work for years. Under Henyard's leadership, the Dolton Police Department has allegedly become a squad of enforcers carrying out her every command. This includes extorting local businesses, intimidating political rivals, and providing private security for her and her allies. Despite everything, Henyard is still trying to control the police. She recently instructed officers to continue following orders from her chosen police chief, even though trustees have voted to put Lacey on leave due to the federal bankruptcy fraud charge and allegations of him taking $200,000 and in unearned overtime. The situation is spiraling, and it's clear that the scandal surrounding Henyard's administration may be far from over. In a video obtained by News Nation, Henyard is heard telling police officers, "Stop playing these silly games." Lacey then warns the staff to follow orders or face consequences, saying, "Do what you want, but anything after this is insubordination." But here's something Tiffany Henyard really doesn't want you to know: there's a serious alternative. Former trustee Edward Steve, who has been vocal about Henyard's alleged corruption, is preparing to run for office again. The people of Dolton may just be ready for a change. Ed Steve embodies everything Tiffany Henyard isn't: integrity, transparency, and a true dedication to serving the community. But he's not the only one. 6 months ago, former South Suburban Dolton Police Chief Robert Collins broke his silence on the controversial security detail provided to Mayor Tiffany Henyard. For the first time, Collins revealed how the mayor's constant demands for personal protection hindered his ability to address crime in the community. In 2023, a Fox 32 investigation uncovered that Henyard's security detail was not only pulling officers off the streets, but also racking up thousands of dollars in overtime costs, all funded by taxpayers. Under Collins's leadership, the strain on police resources became a critical issue. The department was already stretched thin, and Collins revealed that instead of having officers patrolling where they were needed most, they were assigned to protect the mayor. Now living in Florida after being fired by Henyard late last year, Collins expressed his frustration over the situation. He described managing a police department that was already understaffed and overworked while being forced to allocate resources to Henyard's extravagant personal security detail. But we desperately need those officers on the streets fighting crime, Collins said, but instead they were driving the mayor around. It's wrong, and someone needs to be held accountable. Dolton police officers were often assigned to chauffeur Henyard, even to her second taxpayer-funded job as Thornton Township supervisor in South Holland. Through an open records request, it was revealed that these officers logged hundreds of overtime hours, costing taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. At times there would be 2, even 3 officers, and depending on events, the number could rise. The level of security for a town of just over 20,000 residents, struggling economically, raised serious concerns. Dolton typically has only a few officers on duty per shift, and Collins argued these officers were desperately needed elsewhere. The security detail was initially justified in 2021 after a police-involved shooting in Dolton led to protests and threats against Henyard. Collins acknowledged that security was necessary during that tense period, but as protests subsided, the security detail didn't just continue, it grew. He realized that officers were being used for personal errands, not actual security. Officers assigned to Henyard were often tasked with running errands, picking up items, and handling other duties unrelated to protecting the mayor. The security detail also racked up thousands of dollars in travel expenses as they accompanied Henyard on out-of-town trips. Collins questioned, why would the mayor need a security detail on trips away from town? Who exactly is a threat to her in these distant places? Henyard's security detail has caused a major setback in efforts to fight crime in Dolton. In February, a mass shooting on Sybil Boulevard left 4 people injured, and Collins believes this could have been prevented with a stronger police presence. Dolton is plagued by gang violence, gun crime, and illegal substances, and Collins insists those officers should have been on the streets, protecting the community, not escorting the mayor. When visibility is low, criminals feel more confident, he said. When Fox 32 attempted to ask Henyard about the police detail, Dolton Village Administrator Keith Freeman blocked their camera and prevented them from getting answers. Collins mentioned he faced similar pushback when he raised concerns about the issue, with Freeman dismissing his worries. It was made clear to me that these were the orders and I had to follow them, Collins explained. But why hasn't this issue gotten more attention? Because Henyard has done everything in her power to keep it in the shadows. Now Dolton faces a choice: continue supporting a mayor who seems more focused on her personal interests than the community, or choose a leader who genuinely wants to make a difference. With federal investigations gaining momentum, the community losing faith, and a new leader eager to step up, things aren't looking good for the so-called super mayor. As more people uncover the truth about her leadership, it's only a matter of time before her world comes crashing down. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. That's all for today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this.